good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Psychosocial Aspects of Thalassaemia and Patients' Quality of Life. We have a very esteemed panel of patients, parents, and doctors, clinicians. So I will introduce them, and they will take a few minutes to tell us a little bit about themselves. I am your host, Maria Hadjidimitriou, a thalassemia patient and board of directors for the Thalassaemia International Federation. Ward Alaraj, please tell us
Yes,
a little bit about yourself.
thank you. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone, for letting me be part of this project that we have. My name is Ward. I am originally from Syria, thalassemia major patient. I'm very near to my 30s, a couple months away. I live in Sweden right now. I work, I study, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but mostly I would see myself as a patient advocate. I try to educate about thalassemia a little bit more, as much as I could. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward. Next is Pham Truc Young, and I'm so sorry if I said that wrong.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Miss Maria. It's it's my honor to be here today. My name is Phạm Trịnh Trúc Phượng. I'm come from Vietnam. Now I will living in Da Nang, which is the most livable city in Vietnam. Although I'm not a thalassemia patient, but I'm a researcher who do the thalassemia patient in Vietnam. And now I am working as an assistant lecturer in the University of Da Nang. Nice to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you, and thank you. Next is Ahmed Abdullah.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure is mine to be here in this expert field with the doctors and patients. I'm a 21 years old patient with thalassemia major. Live in Mecca in Saudi Arabia. I currently study in college, and that's all.
Thank you, Ahmed. And next is Sozan Ghazal.
Sausan Ghazal.
Sauzan Ghazal. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be a part of this. My name is Sausan Ghazal, and I'm a mother to two thalassemia patients, Ward and Jude. I'm originally from Syria, but I have been living in Sweden for 10 years. We came to Sweden because of such a war situation and the medication, breast pool medication, and such things. So I'm working now as a teacher, and I have a law degree. I have been advocate the patients' rights in Syria, and I'm trying to do the same thing here in Sweden. Proud to be a mother. Yeah, to Ward and Jude.
Thank you. And a very amazing champion mother you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Next is Dr. Boguzia Skudzik.
Thank you. It is a great honor to be here. I come from Poland originally. That's where my ancestors are. Where from the time I was born, I had the privilege of observing my grandparents, parents, neighbors, looking at ways we can support each other through joy as well as through challenges in life. Later on, my parents and I moved to United States when I was a teenager. Feels like the other day. It's been over 40 years since United States and various regions within it have become my new home, where my curiosity to explore healing through multicultural lens grew, which led me to studying psychology and counseling and some foreign languages, because to me, our language is the vibration of cultural practices that give the heartbeat to healing and wellness. And it's been a great honor to explore such approaches. I've also have lived in New Zealand for several years and was very inspired by especially by the Maori indigenous approaches on holistic wellness through connection with earth and people and the universe. So it's a great honor to be here, listen to all of you, and share some of the highlights relevant to how we can support well-being through tapping into cultural healing practices that all of us have.
It's very exciting, Dr. Skodzik. I can't wait till we delve into that. I think we need more of it. It's not just the conventional therapies, which are important. It's more of a holistic, WHO, holistic approach. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And next is Dr. Vienia Yorganda.
Thank you, Maria. It's so nice to be with all of you today and to meet all of you from different places in the world. I'm a psychologist, a clinical psychologist and psychotherapist, but I'm also a thalassemia patient. And this double identity is really helping me to understand both more experientially what it means to have chronic hereditary disorder, but also to have the theoretical background to understand some of the issues that we're going to be dealing with in this podcast. And I'm very grateful that I'm part of it. As you understand, I was born at a time when thalassemia was still quite unpredictable and was considered a fatal disease. So I'm very happy to be 65 now and living very happily still and a very productive life. So I believe that everything is possible. And this is what we're here to discuss, I think. So I look very much forward to questions and sharing our experiences.
Thank you, Dr. Yorganda. So the first topic that we're going to discuss are social challenges and stigma. Let's start with a patient, the social challenges that we face. Ward, your journey has been one of heroism when I hear it, how you had left Syria. Tell us some of the social challenges and stigma you may or may have not experienced in both the countries, Syria, and now your current country, Sweden.
That's a big question. How much time do I have?
Oh gosh, we
I'll
could
make
try
it
to
short.
shrink it.
Yeah, I'll make it very short. Well, some of the challenges that I face now, honestly, are because I can relate to it now since it's happening to me, is unfortunately in my professional environment, where some of the stigmas instantly put me in a category of someone who can function less, whereas it's not the truth in our situation. It's not the opposite. Being a thalassemia patient always pushed me to prove myself that I'm more capable than your average person. But still, I'm into that situation when it comes to my professional life, I would say, which is what I'm noticing now. So that's one of the things. But honestly, one of the most recent challenges that I had on a psychological level for me was to try to find this balance between accepting that I am a person with a condition and that I can live my life to the fullest, and trying to find that balance line in between where I can be comfortable accepting that I am patient and without it limiting me to any conditions. That was one of my recent challenging psychological tackles. I won't be taking any much more time, but yeah, that's pretty much some of the things that I'd like to share.
Thank you, Ward. Ahmed, how is it in Saudi Arabia?
It's good, but it's very hot. So regarding the social challenges, I'm not like Ward who has been in the workplace, but as for educational purposes, this condition may impacted my social education life, that I get off school every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, that because I have transfusion and I have follow-ups with the doctors. So that's the very impact of the disease. But I have a question: is that in the workplace, how should the patient manage these kind of challenges, where he will have to be away from the job or the work for times that may be a lot?
No, I agree. I think it's a valid question to ask. How should we handle that where we need time off to go and receive our life-saving blood transfusions just so we could live a great quality of life for the next 14 to 21 days and then go back again. It's like a refresh button, repeat, repeat, repeat. And my experience is when you have bosses, employers that are understanding and have empathy, they will look at you as brave and courageous and not anything less than that. So, but it's finding those employers. And I've been, Ahmed, with employers that discriminated me in the workplace, and it's very hard. It really hits your confidence as well. And I make the decision whenever I feel my boss is treating me differently because of my ability, I leave and I go elsewhere. In America, it's a little bit different. We don't always stay at the same job for like 8, 9, 10 years. If your resume, your CV, you have leaving a job every 2 years, then it doesn't look bad. It actually looks like you are a diverse person. Able to handle cross-functional responsibilities. So does anyone else want to add to this? Maybe Soswan, from a mother's perspective?
Well, I would like to add something to that. First of all, it's very true, Maria, what you said, that it is very important that we have understanding employers, but that is not always, of course, the case. And we are living in a very competitive world. One of the things that I wanted to add was that in the early 1980s, in Greece, at least, we established our association. And one of the things that we fought for was to have evening blood transfusions. So that some of the units that have adult patients operate not only during the day but during the evening, and I think this is true also for UK. I'm not sure about other countries. I think this is also true in Cyprus. So it is very important also to be able to, let's say, fight for our rights and being able to have a more normal life, if you can call it that, is very important. And going in the evenings for blood transfusions is very helpful in that kind of respect, so that you don't have to miss work very often. Of course, I must say from my experience growing older is that you have more complications. Older. So as you grow older, you have more doctor's appointments and more things that are happening at the same time. So it becomes more complicated, and we are living a more complicated life, like most people that suffer from some kind of a disease that have to do follow-ups and go to doctors. And it's not a very easy life. Okay, but on the other hand, I want to emphasize that I think that these hardships very often make us stronger. Being sort of strong, psychological,
very resilient, yes.
a psychic resilience to difficulties is very important, because everybody is going to face difficulties in life. So the more resilient we grow, the better it is to face difficulties.
Yes. Fam, you had asked something very interesting in ensuring how thalassemia patients are learning in school when distance from the hospital is more than 600 kilometers and they have to miss out from school. So how is it in Vietnam? How are the kids able to juggle both when they're missing several days because of that distance? There's so many more challenges we don't think about. I know my hospital is just 1 hour away. And I know in some other countries in Far East Asia, they have to take 3, 4 days out of their school or work to get transfused because not all, you know, suburban towns have hospitals that can treat thalassemia. So, what is happening in Vietnam?
In our country, there are three big transfusion hematology and transfusion hospital. That's one from the in the north, one in the south, and one in the centers. But in our country, most of thalassemia patients was in the north. The ethnic population in the north, who live 100 kilometers far from the hospital. So the children with major thalassemia couldn't go to school during the hospital time for blood transfusion. So how could they ensure their learning in school when they need to go to regular blood transfusion in the hospital?
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Gudzik, do we have anything to add to this or to what we spoke about so far?
As
Excuse
I'm
me.
listening to each one of you, to me, this reminds me of what we've known for a long time, way before our professions. While I'm passionate about my profession, and our professions also underscore the importance of creating secure bases of attachments, of meaningful connections. And I can only imagine what a difference it makes if Saswan, as a mother, you know you don't have additional restrictions at work, that you can have stability there while taking care of your children who have extenuating circumstances. I really was moved when, Ward, you've mentioned the dualities in life, that sometimes two seemingly opposite events can coexist, and we can find a way to navigate where those are not mutually exclusive. So, yes, someone can have thalassemia, and yes, they need and deserve the freedom to live a meaningful life. That's what I've heard from you, Ahmed, when I've heard you talk about what about that work balance. And some of you, including Evgenia, mentioned the multiple layers of systemic challenges that can hinder it. And that gave me hope when I've heard you, Maria, speak about the importance of working together. Reminds me of Helen Keller, who was blind and deaf. And thanks to her caretaker, who found a creative way to teach her how to read and speak with human touch. I love how in one of the books Helen Keller wrote, she said, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Because to me, what I'm hearing here in terms of the psychosocial aspects, it goes back to nature. A tree needs to have roots to be grounded. And we do have cultures that exist already that need space to bring out the ways of connecting. So, from that core value of honoring people and their needs instead of looking at deficiencies, if we look at a human being who has capacity and potential to meaningfully contribute, I am hopeful despite the dynamics that prevail in our cultures. I'm hopeful because on systemic levels, I've seen in some areas in United States where, for instance, in Midwest, when I worked as a counselor in private practice, the owner was dedicated to well-being, including well-being of people with various illnesses. So each employee had 1 day a month to take care of yourself. If someone needed blood transfusion, they could take that mental health day. without questions asked. If somebody didn't have that issue, they could reserve that time off and help to take care of loved ones. When we would create systemic changes that make that a norm so someone doesn't have to worry whether politics or cultural dynamics and work setting will hinder one's need to take care of themselves, I think we would step toward well being even more, along with valuing diversity and allowing people to connect in a way that helps them be connected to the roots. And I admire your focus on advocacy, getting together, because sometimes, unless we have those national, global policies, individuals will suffer in silence. And one of my favorite writers was Maya Angelou, who said there is nothing more agonizing than bearing untold stories in your soul. And I admire how your foundation is looking at ways of giving the voice to what's often silence.
Right. That is beautifully said. Thank you so much, Dr. Sudzik. On so many levels, that just
Yes.
you
Thank
kick
you.
off everything, right? Sam, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I hope in the future there will be a priority policy for transfusion-dependent thalassemia patients in our country to complete their study program, maybe on the online platform like we are talking today. They will use the online course, but it will be accepted for their school programs. It may be in the future. I hope.
Yes,
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 there will be a
absolutely.
priority.
Yeah,
Yes.
that sounds wonderful. They should not be left behind because they
Mhm.
have to
No.
get transfusions.
And to me, that's the role of counselors too. While I appreciate it's a privilege to sit with someone in my private office, it takes it to a different level if I make phone calls with the clients or with permission. I have gone to hospitals with clients at times or talked to insurance companies in United States, which I don't know why they're even called healthcare insurance because they promote diseases at times. And it makes a difference when our clients have an ally, someone who can advocate on their behalf. That's where
Yeah,
healing happens, I think.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just going to go back to Dr. Evgenia Yorganda, what you had said about Greece. And I've always admired Greece on the stance they took to make life easier for thalassemia patients. You were the first ones to do evening clinics, the first to adapt to this, and you were one of the first to have a proper disability for those that cannot work, or if because as we get older, aging for thalassemia is very different than aging if you don't have thalassemia, because we have to deal with the secondary diseases of osteoporosis, pulmonary hypertension. So and I believe Greece has very strong patient advocates that was able to push forward um, policies to help thalassemia patients. So yeah, Greece is like on a stool, like very high on a stool, and we should take examples for other countries to be like Greece. And I think now United Arab Emirates is the second country, and Cyprus that really has pushed forward policies to protect thalassemia patients with work, with corporations. So, and I know in the UAE, I believe there's even a law where you cannot not hire thalassemia patients just because they have thalassemia. That cannot be the reason.
This is true, Maria, that there is a very strong advocacy and strong associations that have fought for many years for many issues that helped thalassemia patients and their families, because the financial burden is also a very big burden. So that the fact that everything was for free was very also important. However, I must say, and it was very nice to hear Bogusia talk about that. That unfortunately things are shifting, not only in Greece, but all over the world, where public policies are really changing. And we need to be aware that there are significant changes happening in our healthcare systems that are going to be affecting our healthcare provision significantly, because there is a significant cutbacks in the funding of the national systems. So I am quite concerned about how things are going to really be in the near future. So we do need to stand together, and it is very important that we are united and that we all come together and struggle to keep some of the things that we have fought for many years, so that it can continue to be the way it used to be, so that we have as much of a good care as we can, because nobody can really afford the transfusions and the medications and all of the things that we need to do if they're not provided by the state. So it's at stake. So I think it is very important to be aware of it.
Thank you. I just want to go to Sasan,
Yeah.
where you left a country, Syria. Talk about social challenges. Yes. You left a country, Syria, with 7,000 population thalassemia patients, and you went to Sweden with 0, and a whole new word. Social challenge doesn't even fit what you went through. To bring to a light awareness of what this disease is for your 2 children. Tell us what you went through. Now, Sweden has 3,000 thalassemia patients that took from various parts of patients from Syria and other countries that were displaced. So tell us about that journey in you setting awareness and maybe even policies in Sweden.
The challenges between Syria and Sweden is really very different, because when I was in Syria for about 27 years ago, when I discovered that word have thalassemia, so I didn't know anything about thalassemia at that time. So I didn't know anything about thalassemia when the doctor told me that word have thalassemia. So I have to educate myself to know what is thalassemia and how shall I do with the word in the future, how the treatment will be. So as far as I learned myself, my fires and became bigger and bigger, because I know more and more about thalassemia. At some point, I was really depressed. I was hopeless, and I think that my break was broken. But as a mother, I have to stand up and fight forward and for his sister, because I discovered that Jude have a thalassemia major also. So as a mother, I have to take this challenge. I have to protect them for the social stigma, from the disease, from everything is coming. They were small, they were perfect, they were amazing, so beautiful, just like angels. And I cannot imagine that the thalassemia will affect them in somehow, in their appearance, physical and psychological in the future. So I have tried to do my best. I don't know if I was a good mother or a bad mother, but I do my best.
Amazing mother.
I did my
Amazing.
best. I tried to give support to the other patient at the same time, because there's such patients which have who have parents doesn't know uh, anything about the thalassemia and the future challenges. So we began, I was one of the founder of the Thalassaemia Association in Syria. And that's the most thing that make me happy, to see the smile on the patients' faces when they meet me and we will talk, and I give them some support. So the journey was long in Syria, and the challenges was very, very big, because you have to advocate the patient's rights to take the good medicine, the good medication, and every details you have to advocate to get the good things for your children. And because of the war, we moved from Syria because there were no medication, no blood available. So we have to protect Ward and Jude. After 2 years, the journey was really have many details. I could write a book about this.
I think you should write a book about it.
Yeah. So when they came to Sweden, so here the challenges is very different because it's a rare disease. So maybe there's about 500, 1,000 patients in all of Sweden because the immigration to Sweden at that time. But the doctor doesn't have the experience to treat the experience with the treatment for the thalassemia. So our challenges is a little bit different. But here in Sweden, the healthcare is perfect. They are taking care of Jude in the best way. They are trying to follow up all the details and follow up everything that they need. So it's a little bit different. And one of the difference for me as a mother that they have the file, the health file privacy, which make me far away from what's happening because they are adults, they take care of themselves, but I didn't have the access to know everything. But I trust that Word or Jude is taking care of themselves. So I hope so.
So before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to ask the doctors to comment on Saswan's journey and what she said about the social aspect of her experience in Sweden. Is there anything that we could add to that?
Just a little comment on the issue of stigma. Of course, you know, I grew up at a time when thalassemia and still the trait of the disease is called stigma.
Mm.
So parents were stigmatized and the families were stigmatized. And but it is very important how we stand towards that, because the more we are able to not see ourselves as something less than others because we have thalassemia, that's the image that we transmit outside. So by now, I think most people are aware that thalassemia is just another hereditary disorder. It's not something that stigmatizes people. Of course, many people
It is
have
here.
fear about diseases anyway, all right, whatever disease that is. And this is something that, again, we all together need to hopefully fight for changing the culture of the fear of what it means to be different. I think Dr. Bogusia brought it, you know, to be more open towards differences in
Yes.
general, so that to not feel threatened by something that is different.
Ward, quick question. Are you open about thalassemia to your circle of friends and your peers at work? And then
Yes.
that same question to Ahmed.
Yes, definitely. I am quite the open person, especially when it comes to thalassemia, because I feel like I want to spread the knowledge about it. I want people to know more about it, and here in Sweden, it's so unheard for. So I have to disagree with Dr. Venina there, because here it's still feared, it's still scared, like it's still looked upon as in like, oh my God, you're sick. You know, like people are worried when they see like, oh, you go to the hospital every day. That instantly puts you in a specific category. but I am assuming somewhere else is where it's more common, where people heard more about it. So I try to express it as much as I can and tell people that no, it's just, just another condition. We all carry our
Yeah,
own different conditions,
agree.
and we all carry our things with us, and it's just part of
Everyone.
it. And
Everyone,
yeah,
I believe that everyone carries something, right?
yes, exactly. And this is just part of the cards that we got dealt. So I try to be open about it, but it also creates conflicts with me between trying to find, how I can be private in my life and private in my needs while still pressing enough and advocating enough. There's still there comes the balance again, but
Yeah.
that's everything.
Quite balance there. Yeah. Ahmed, just in a few seconds, you're open about
Yeah.
it?
I actually am not that introvert or extrovert, so that's why I can't say that I'm open or not. But there is very few people who know that I have this disease from my friends. That's
I can add something quickly. Maybe it depends if you accept yourself as a thalassemia patient, how you accept yourself. I mean, that's in general for every patient, how your acceptance, when you trust yourself, trust your ability in life. So at this point, you can be open for everything.
I don't think it's acceptance. It's more about, for me, it's more about defining. I don't want to be defined as the thalassemia kid. I want to be defined as Ward who have thalassemia. That's why I find it hard to find that balance between how much can I be open about it without being stigmatized as the sick child or the sick person, as I still can be personalized about it and be open about it. So that's a whole topic on its own, so let's not get there.
Yes. I feel so moved by the comments I'm hearing here. And most of all, what moves me is we're practically strangers who are becoming fellow travelers. And just in that space, I can sense like invisible connections, like spiders make, so they have a web to live in. And I can only imagine how that is so helpful to people who grapple with those existential issues around who am I? Who are you? Who are we when we're together? Will we make sure we don't just attach quick labels like we do when we go to a grocery store? So we know this is orange juice, apple juice, instead of looking at it deeper and look at who is that human being in front of me? What brings him joy? What matters to him instead of focusing on deficiencies of what's the matter with you? And that to me was one of the lessons that touched me in New Zealand from Sir Mason Dury, who is a Maori indigenous healer and a psychiatrist trained in Canada. So to me, Saswan, when I heard your comments, I thought so many women and moms go through that phase of how do I deal with my own stressors? Moving to another culture, even if it's welcoming, still means we're moving away from our roots that often have been ripped by numerous layers of trauma that's often magnified by majority culture. My heart goes out to people in United States who are not part of the mainstream because of what I've heard here too. As long as we feed fear and shame by teaching people, even subconsciously, that if someone is different from you, you should watch out because that's dangerous, people will suffer. And to me, Saswan, you are having a normal reaction to abnormal levels of pain and stress. And it also gives me hope because life is such a contrast of darkness and lightness. Even the moon and the sun give that to us. So to me, I see those challenges as opportunities to look at how each one of us can grow more in understanding what others may not tell us because they're more introverted, or within their cultural norms. They've learned. In Polish, we have a phrase that says, "Do not do your dirty laundry in your front yard." And there was this implied message of, oh, if something bad happens, don't talk about it. It's going to make us look bad. And our
Yes.
body keeps the score. There is a powerful book like that, actually, written by a physician who became a psychologist. The body keeps the score. And the more we can tune into our bodies as vessels for healing through connections that are touched by cultural practices, the more I'm hopeful we can redirect the shift in our societies.
Thank you. That was so well said. Thank you. Thank you,
Beautiful.
everyone. It's been an
Thank you.
honor to be the host
Thank you
today.
so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.